Welcome to The Explainer. We've got a seriously exciting opportunity to dig into today. We are looking at the complete blueprint for FRIT 7035, Digital Learning Environments. You know, if you've ever wanted to be a true architect of online learning, someone who doesn't just slap a PDF on a web page, but actually builds dynamic, accessible, and totally transformative digital spaces, well, you're exactly in the right place. We're going to unpack the syllabus for this course, and I promise you, by the end of this explainer, you're going to see exactly how you'll be designing a phenomenal digital learning environment from the ground up. But hey, before we get into the real nuts and bolts of the course, we've got to meet the lead architect, Professor Jackie Hyung Kim. In the syllabus, Dr. Kim makes this incredibly bold promise. She says, "I work many more hours than listed here, and I promise to be available to meet with you. I'm happy to schedule meetings during evenings and weekends." I always love starting with this because it just immediately humanizes the whole experience, right? Her primary goal is absolutely to support you. And here is a quick pro tip right out of the gate. Email is hands down the best and fastest way to reach her. If you ask a question on Friday, you're going to have an answer by Monday via the GoView system. She is totally in your corner. All right, here is our agenda for today's explainer, laying out exactly how this semester is going to unfold. We'll start with a welcome to FRIT 7235. Move into your final masterpiece, explore the pedagogical foundations, map out the 6 steps to success, and finally wrap up with grades, AI, and rules. Okay, let's dive right into this. Section 1, welcome to FRIT 7235, laying the groundwork. We're kicking things off with a massive perk that I know you're going to appreciate. 0 textbooks are required for this course. Seriously, none. Because this is a course all about digital learning environments, it actually practices what it preaches. Every single piece of your course material, all the readings, all the resources, they're coming directly from the internet. It sets a super modern, highly accessible tone for the whole semester. Moving right along to Section 2, your final masterpiece, the ultimate goal. So, picture this. Your principal or supervisor comes to you and asks you to design a highly effective, beautifully structured online course from scratch. That is your ultimate goal here. Let's break down exactly what you'll be constructing. First up, you'll choose a learning management system, or LMS. You can go with Canvas, Google Classroom, or even your own school's LMS if you're currently teaching. Inside that LMS, you're going to design 2 complete instructional modules. And these aren't just empty shells, okay? They need crystal clear learning objectives, an interactive learning activity, a quiz or rubric, and an engaging discussion activity. Basically, you are building a fully functional, ready-to-deploy digital environment. Now, if hearing all those requirements just spiked your heart rate a bit, take a deep breath. This course brilliantly uses the concept of scaffolding. You are not building this massive project overnight. Instead of a terrifying scramble at the end of the semester, every single weekly assignment progressively builds a piece of that final online course. You build a piece, you get feedback, you revise it, and you refine it step by step. But obviously, before we can pour any digital concrete, we need the blueprints. That's Section 3, the pedagogical foundations, your structural blueprints. So, the most crucial point to remember is that your course has to actually work for everyone. And that's where UDL comes in. Universal Design for Learning is an educational framework that ensures your instruction is completely inclusive, accommodating some incredibly diverse learner needs. And here's the absolute kicker for this course. Your UDL application has to respond directly to actual or provided student performance data. Data-driven inclusivity is literally the bedrock of your course design here. It's all about giving your students multiple ways to engage, to perceive the information, and to express what they know. And right alongside UDL, you'll be applying Mayer's 12 Principles of Multimedia Learning. Think of this as your essential rulebook for creating visually and cognitively effective presentations. You know, when you throw text, graphics, and interactive elements onto a screen, you're asking your students' brains to do a lot of heavy lifting. Mayer's principles are these fantastic research-based strategies to manage that cognitive load, making sure your students are actually absorbing the material instead of just getting totally overwhelmed by flashy, distracting screens. So, how does this whole thing actually come together? Let's get into Section 4, the 6 steps to success, the construction phases. All right, there are 300 points total up for grabs across the semester, broken into these distinct phases. Phase 1 is your course structure map, which is worth 20 points. This is where you draft that initial map of your learning outcomes, your assessments, and your materials. It's essentially an outline that's going to evolve as you go. Then, Phase 2 is your presentation project, sitting at 30 points. Here, you take Mayer's Principles of Multimedia Learning and actually apply them to teach a concept. You'll be using tools like Nearpod, Powtoon, or Adobe Spark, so you're putting theory directly into practice right away. Keeping that momentum going, we roll into phases 3 and 4. Phase 3, also worth 30 points, is all about engaging online discussions. You're going to create 2 discussion activities that actively require your students to research, collaborate, and provide comprehensive feedback to each other. After that, Phase 4 is the data-driven UDL assignment, another 30 points. Remember that student performance data we talked about? This is where you use it to select the exact right UDL strategies and tech tools to make sure absolutely no learner is left behind. And then the grand finale. Phase 5 is your final course build and an 8 to 12-minute recorded presentation. This is the big one, worth 60 points. This is where you literally walk us through the modules you've built in your LMS, showing off how you applied Mayer's principles and UDL. Finally, Phase 6, worth 20 points, closes out the semester with a final written reflection. You'll independently analyze your own abilities, your challenges, and how much you've grown as an instructional designer. Which brings us to the final piece of the puzzle. Section 5, Grades, AI, and Rules, the site regulations. Okay, every job site has strict regulations to make sure the whole project doesn't just collapse. And there's something really interesting about the course evaluation breakdown here. Listen to this. Discussion participation makes up 23.3% of your total grade. That is actually a heavier weight than your massive final course and presentation, which sits at 20%. The major assignments total 30%, structure and reflection take up 13.4%, and quizzes are 13.3%. But the big takeaway? Consistent, high-quality participation in those weekly discussions is the single largest component of your grade. So whatever you do, do not sleep on the discussion boards. To totally nail those discussions and quizzes, you've got to lock into a solid weekly rhythm. The pacing guide is super clear. Your initial discussion posts are due by 11:59 p.m. every single Friday. Your weekly quizzes, which are checking your understanding of the readings, those are due on Saturdays. And your thoughtful replies to at least one classmate, those are due by 11:59 p.m. on Sundays. If you establish this Friday, Saturday, Sunday rhythm early on, you are not going to fall behind. And trust me, you absolutely do not want to fall behind here. Why? Because there is a 20% penalty that is a 20% hit to your grade for every single day an assignment is late. And let's be crystal clear on this one. Technology failure is not an acceptable excuse. If your internet crashes at 11:58 p.m., that is on you for waiting until the literal last minute. So plan ahead, back up your work constantly, and just submit early. Promptness is totally expected. Now, we've got to talk about AI. The university academic dishonesty policy is basically a zero-tolerance zone here. Acceptable use of AI in this class means things like checking your grammar, fixing spelling, or doing some really basic brainstorming. That's fine. But prohibited use, that includes generating your course content, flat-out cheating, or copying and pasting AI work without any real human interaction. The syllabus points out that taking shortcuts on your effort cuts short your depth of understanding and skill development. And yes, Dr. Kim can totally spot-pasted AI work. It is just not worth risking an F on your project to take a shortcut. Do the work. Embrace the productive struggle of creating something totally original. And there you have it, the complete blueprint for the semester. You've got the theoretical foundations in UDL and Mayer's principles, you've got the structural scaffolding with your weekly assignments mapped out, and you know exactly what the site regulations are. So I guess the only thing left to ask is, what kind of digital learning environment will you construct this semester? I really hope this explainer has left you feeling empowered and absolutely ready to start building something truly transformative. Good luck out there, architects!